And the reason why I find it's important to bring that up today is because I had a relatively prominent client who's very vocal in the pain management community reach out to me after he had voluntarily surrendered his registration. And initially it was quite concerning to me that somebody who's so prominent and somebody who's so knowledgeable and somebody who knows so much about government investigations and surrender their registration, even though much of the material that you see on the internet advises you not to do that. So the question is, why would a physician do this? And the real answer is the coercion that to try to get them to sign their rights away and give up their DEA registration. And so this is typically how it works. The DEA or some other investigative body will tell you you're under investigation. They may come to your office plainclothes. They may show a badge. They make it all sound very serious, and they tell you, listen, you have violated the Controlled Substances Act. You've done things for which we can strip your license away from you, and all you need to do is grab your pen and sign on this line, and you won't have a registration anymore, but you can get it back later, but it'll solve all your problems. And that is absolutely bad advice. And first of all, if you are the type of person to take legal advice from a DEA diversion investigator or an agent, you should stop right here and read the articles that we've written about why you shouldn't voluntarily surrender. But let's talk about the reasons why you don't sign that form. Well, first of all, anything that you do in the medical community without legal advice should be rethought, honestly. Now, that's not related to patient care. I'm just talking about in the regulatory medical field. It's very important for us to ensure that when we look at payer arrangements or when we look at audits or prescribing and things like that, that we get legal advice. So why wouldn't we contact an attorney prior to making such a decision like surrendering your DEA registration? Well, the reason is because of the misconception that many people have. Many people believe that by getting a lawyer involved in a situation like this, the DEA is more likely to go after you or to exert pressure against you, and nothing could be further from the truth. The DEA doesn't take action based on whether or not you've hired a lawyer. And in fact, any large organization that is met with a federal investigation, CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, University of Michigan, the first thing they do is run to their lawyer. And the first thing you should do is run to your lawyer before making a decision like that. So many people think, number one, that contacting a lawyer is going to cause them issues with the DEA, and that's just false. The second thing that people believe, they have the ability to talk or get themselves out of trouble, and that also is false. No words that you say at that point in time, sitting down in front of the DEA before you sign, will ever help you with the DEA. They're sitting in front of you because they believe that you're a bad doctor, that you're a bad pharmacist, that you're a bad nurse practitioner, and that you violated the Controlled Substances Act. And the reason they're there is for the sole purpose of stripping you from your registration before you go to a hearing, because hearings are expensive and time-consuming, and you will be able to prescribe for the year it will take you to get to a hearing. And they want to alleviate the DEA of that burden. So they're there for that reason and that reason only. So you're not going to talk yourself out of it. You can take your time and consult with counsel for that happen. The third reason that people sign their DEA registration away is because they believe they can get it back. And that's also false. It's false that you can talk yourself out of trouble. It's false that the DEA is just simply going to go away. And it's also false if the DEA tells you that you can reapply and simply get your registration back at a later date. Like I told you, the sole reason the DEA is there in your office to relieve you of your DEA registration is because they want to avoid the time-consuming process that administrative proceedings would take. And so therefore, it makes sense that if you reapply for your DEA registration, they're not going to give it back to you the next day. They're not going to give it back to you the next week. They're not going to give it back to you the next month. And they may not even give it back to you within the next few years. The reality is that if the DEA takes your registration away and you apply, historically, my caseload with my clients that I represent, it will take them almost 2 years to get a hearing. And that's sometimes why we have to file injunctions in federal court, which we've been successful at, to force the DEA to get you your registration back. 3 reasons, 3 misconceptions why you shouldn't voluntarily surrender your DEA. Let's talk about what you should do. As soon as the DEA walks into your office for any reason, your first and only phone call should be to a health law attorney. This particular physician that I referenced in the beginning of our conversation was somebody who did call an attorney and try to seek advice. Unfortunately, a lot of people seek advice from the wrong type of attorney. They seek advice from their criminal defense attorney. They seek advice from their cousin who doesn't know anything about health law. They seek advice from their wills and estates attorney who handled their estate, or the business attorney. And these people are generally trained to believe that, well, the DEA thinks something's wrong with your practice and they're telling you that you can get out of jail by signing this DEA registration surrender, that you should just sign on the dotted line. And in fact, I have had to reconstruct cases where attorneys said just that to clients. And that's a problem because it's bad advice. The only person that you should talk to is somebody who knows DEA registration matters, somebody who's worked with the DEA, somebody who knows the DEA registration proceedings, knows the timelines for administrative processing, and knows all the tricks that they play on you in order to ensure that you won't get tricked yourself. You need to call Health Law Attorney. You need to call someone like the attorneys at Chapman Law Group. Our criminal defense division, our administrative licensing division has attorneys in it that are all very well-versed how to handle DEA registration proceedings. We handle DEA registration cases day in and day out and have dealt with the DEA offices in many, many states. And we can give you very quick Johnny-on-the-spot advice to make sure that you don't make the mistake that thousands of physicians have made this year in voluntarily surrendering their DEA registration. If you call me after you surrender and you want to get it back, it's going to be a bit more expensive and it's going to be very difficult to do. Make that call before you sign on the dotted line. I really hope you have the opportunity to view this video before the DEA knocks on your door. Make sure that you have a plan in place to ensure that you don't sign on the dotted line, that you call counsel, that you know who to call, and you can get a hold of us immediately.